Socrates believed the first step to true wisdom is to know thyself, because only then can one appreciate what one understands and what remains to be learned. Welcome to my channel. I am Daisy, your hostess, and I appreciate all of you who have subscribed to this eclectic channel where I explore anything and everything from intuition to the self in the hopes of discovering better ways to know thyself. So in this video, I share a treatise titled Building a Better Brain by Albert Lewis Pelton. He was an advertising solicitor and newspaper ad copywriter. He later became a millionaire by publishing self-improvement books from his Pelton Publishing Company. And one of his most popular books is The Creed of the Conquering Chief. Pelton believed that the advances in science revealed that the brain had so much power, and that under intelligent thinking, we could direct it to attain whatever we wished. Now, this treatise appeared printed in Frank Channing's Haddock's book titled The Secret of Brain Energy, which is available here on this channel, and you can find the link in the description of this video. This is a brief video, and at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing the potential that we have and what we are missing by not exploring and expanding that potential. Enjoy, make sure you hit that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know you were here. Building a Better Brain by Albert Lewis Pelton. In all this world life, what subject so sensible? What instruction so inspiring? What education so effective? What possession so tremendous, profitable in every way as the work of building your brain into a developed and skillfully used engine of the mind. A recent pioneer volume in psychology clearly proves that the brain tissue or substance can be fashioned into whatever the man or woman chooses. Faculties can be enlarged to the limit of birth endowment. Undreamed of powers can be won and intelligently used, if only you will go at the matter on a definite psychological basis. The brain is the organ through which the mind powers operate, but far up above the mind, in power and vast importance in the world, is the masterful human will. This is the architect-builder who constructs the brain areas in which reside the mind powers. Another important conclusion is led up to by these facts, namely that we can make our own brains so far as special mental functions are concerned, if only we have wills strong enough to take the trouble. There's the secret of all personal power and supremacy since the dawn of recorded time: the energy of will. This puts an entirely new view upon human culture, upon personal power, upon success in any field of endeavor. The keynote is the mastering of the will for right use in every phase of life. The brain can be built by the willpower into whatever you, the human builder, shall elect. Now, to get down to the brain as a physical organ, Rousseau says, the brain is simply the machinery for putting the thoughts, desires, and will of the heart into action. This being so, it is evident that all our activities are resulting from brain action. The brain is the transformer through which all mandates from the ego or self pass in reaching expression, realization, and use in life. The force and success of every act will depend upon the power of the brain applied and exerted in that act. The training of the brain for power, concentrated action, and highest possible efficiency becomes the right pursuit for every success-seeking individual. The first and fundamental point to be considered in building brain power is the physical health and nourishment of the brain. A poorly nourished organ clogs mental action. Physiologists explain that a greater blood supply is required in the brain than in any other part of the human structure. Naturally, for brain function is a much higher physical process and calls for more vital energy than any other function of the body. The prime essential for the seeker of brain power is physical health, in order that the brain may have a clear field for creativeness and power. Directions for the goal of health need hardly to be given here, as any average person in this day of the printing press is acquainted with the general laws of physical health. The physical structure of the brain is a wonderful network of cell centers with connecting fibers which join by innumerable thread-like filaments other parts of the brain. As a general principle, it can be written that the more intelligent exercise given the brain, the more conscious purpose and aim applied in its use, the better and more precise becomes the results of its action. Greater creativeness, more skillful handling, finer products of mentation will be apparent. This does not mean that inherently the brain cells and brain fibers can err, far from that. But it means that your conscious recognition of the brain action becomes clearer. You more quickly and more correctly catch from the brain the final fact in the matter in hand. This study of the cells or gray matter and of the connecting fibers or white matter is most fascinating. Clearing away division after division of the brain matter until the smallest cell observable under microscope has been reached, scientists have arrived at the tiny receptacle in which hides the secret of the human ego, the point where spirit and matter fade into each other. We will consider how different emotions, the feelings, affect these little workers of the mind. The cells and fibers are very delicate. Anger affects them by the wholesale. Worry deadens their action. Passion poisons them prodigally. Hate, envy, any ill feelings sap the energy of the brain. The greatest deficiency in brain power comes from the cool, calm, deliberate action always basing on this thought. Quote, "The calm consideration of this problem gives greater power to the brain." End quote. The mental machinery works best when not driven, when reliance is placed upon ultimate result of its action. The brain will work during your sleeping hours and later pass over to you results that you have sought during waking hours. Learn to believe in your brain and its power. Brain capacity, or more correctly, capacity of the brain for mind power, is measured by the convolutions or wrinkled surface of the brain. The expression shallow brain means that the surface of the brain is comparatively smooth, little genuine or consecutive reasoning coming from such a brain. Likewise, deep thinker explains itself, for it means that constantly directed thinking has built deep channels and divisions in the brain. The shallow brain thinks on surface only, a mere Somerset affair. Thoughts and statements from others are accepted with no effort to substantiate the truth of the matter or to reason out the sane conclusions. Inventive or creative mind action is seldom, if ever, attempted. The more any particular area of the brain is used, the deeper become the thought channels in that area. This explains the formation of habits. Take the drink habit, which is made to bear the brunt of many illustrations. The thought passes over a certain part of the brain. A slight channel has been made. Later, the thought may again arise, or circumstances may suggest the idea that a drink would be desirable. This thought will touch that channel and quickly travel the entire length, not only deepening it, but setting in motion the physical processes necessary to secure action. And thus time after time the channel is traversed until it is a settled trait. And in this manner are all good or harmful habits formed. You can build right brain habits if you choose. Your willpower is the factor that fashions your brain matter as you direct. In order to break up a habit, not always an easy task, the channel of thought must be obliterated, smoothed out, put on the retired list. Before the thought can strike the channel, it must be diffused into other ways. Other thoughts must be set in motion which will fill a greater field in consciousness than the undesirable. Over and over again must you incite upon the thought. you wish permanently to instill in the mind. Imagine the hammer of a riveting machine. Similarly, you must vibrate over and over again through the brain the idea, power, desire, fact, which you wish to secure. How shall brain power be developed? First and last, and all the time by intelligent direction of the mental energy as it is used in the everyday activities of the mind. The brain is physical. Thought moves over channels in the brain tissue. Brain power can be developed by correct exercise of this organ of mind. Make every transaction of your daily life yield a bit of added power to the effectiveness of your brain. Always have your mind on the thing before you. Concentration of thought in each action upon these questions. What is this that I am now doing? What am I to accomplish? Why is it done? What possible improvements can I make? Bring to everything upon which you direct your attention the idea of the alert, masterful, controlled, magnetic personality with the mind sending creative energy into the brain. Think of your brain as the boring machine of thought seeing far into the matter before you. See deeper than the external form. Have the analytical mind which observes component parts. Genius sees everything in the abstract. The average man sees only form. The genius, the deep thinker, sees into the heart of things, the inside fact, the cause. This power of mentally analyzing what you see, and which results in immense creativeness to the mental faculties, is illustrated by Frank Channing Haddock in his Power of Will by the following, quote, "You see a rose. What is it? It equals petals, stamen, calyx, color, fragrance, etc." End quote. That is, from a single group idea or object, you have instantly perceived numerous distinct parts or possessions of the object. Make a persistent practice of this mental analysis of the things you see, and you will be surprised at the increase in brain power. In your daily contact with others, with events, with materials, make each yield up principles of conduct, theories and facts of construction, methods of manufacture and business, causes and effects. Observe and think. Be a deep thinker. The difference between the thinker and the thinkless is one of depth. One sees surface only, the other pushes thought to the center, gets down to the germinal truth. Concentration is the secret. Thought force actively and consciously directed at the subject. Thought is a subtle force which can dissolve materials. That is, it can penetrate into facts and yield up to the mind the inner nature of anything. The sun shines through a piece of flat glass and is no stronger than its single rays. Man constructs a lens which multiplies the heat and intensifies the rays upon a single spot, and it starts a conflagration. Make your brain the concentrating lens in your mind world. Brain power does not come from dreaming. A house is not built when the carpenter does nothing but study plans. You can read books until doomsday about the mind, but you will never accomplish anything until you actually exercise your brain. Under proper direction, you can actually build brain powers. The mind loves to roam whither it desires. It revolts for a time against being held to a single line of action. It is a spirit that will run off the moment you relax. The steam of thought explains this. This tide of thought energy flowing continually through the brain will freight into thousands of fancies unless you, the self, deliberately direct and select what shall be considered. What we all want is the art and power of handling our daily problems with increased brain power. We want concentrated, result-bringing action. We must not be mind wanderers. We want that ability which will foresee the results of contemplated actions and transactions. Reading is a prime practice for developing brain power, but time after time the mind must be brought down to the page before us. The idea is, Quote, I am now engaged in reading and considering this subject. I forbid my mind to harbor any other theme until I am done with this. What is this to teach me? What use am I to make of what I am reading? End quote. In this way, you get the thought vibrations of your brain harmonized with the author's at the time of writing, and you more readily absorb the subject. Such methods will call for tiresome attention at first, but gradually your mind, under harness, will work admirably. You will eventually create the ability to stick to any subject and thus increase the power of the brain. Brain power is constructive. It is the ability to plan in advance, to see the structure in the mind's eye. It is the ego stepping up into the citadel of reasoning, of judgment, and applying the imagination, the picture-making power, to the laying out of plans and mentally building the entire object sought. Then it is ready for manifestation whenever called for. In a general way, summarizing the question of what is brain power, we will write that it is all the forces and arts and powers and faculties of mental phenomena applied through the brain in the highest possible effectiveness. Nature everywhere, in every permanent formation, builds by accretion. Minute parts are put together bit by bit, particle by particle, ounce by ounce, until the result is accomplished. That is the theory of building brain power. It comes bit by bit. Every thought, every act must add somewhat. The brain matter under intelligent thinking is worked over into the realm of controlled, mastered, directed power. In closing this brief treatise, I quote from The Unknown Made Known as follows. The soul or ego of man becomes outwardly manifested according to the structure of the brain at its disposal. The soul can do and accomplish anything that the material through which it is compelled to operate will permit. The power or capacity of the brain can be improved and enlarged by systematic use just as surely as the muscles can be strengthened by systematic training. The matter is entirely in your own hands. If you choose to seek present-day science for the building of your brain structure into a superior organism, you can find it. The very heart of this subject is the will. Your will must be made known to you. As W. Hannah Thompson puts it, quote, a mind always broken into the sway of the will and therefore thinking according to will and not according to reflex action constitutes a purposive life. A man who habitually thinks according to purpose will then speak according to purpose, and who will care to measure strength with such a man? Such a man or woman is the very embodiment of living power. But the important practical truth to apply here is that no power so grows in us by exercise or so weakens and atrophies by disuse as the will. It is the will which creates the man. End quote. The greatest system of scientific exercises for building the brain on a definite psychophysical basis is Frank Channing Haddock's famous Power of Will. In this volume of volumes, the author, who is a keen scholar psychologist, has formulated hundreds of practical methods for building the brain into a mighty engine of creative thought. Page after page, chapter after chapter, on through nearly 400 pages, he presents inspiring, demonstrated, infallible studies in building personal powers. Those who have hunted high and low for the real methods of building brain power find in this one peerless volume the goal they seek. It is accepted today by thousands of delighted students as the crowning system of self-culture. You, who are interested in building your brain, with its various powers, are invited to read Power of Will, the only book in the world today offering a correct scientific system of developing the will, acknowledged by philosophers, psychologists, and educators as the greatest power in the life of man. And this is the conclusion of the reading of Building a Better Brain by Albert Lewis Pelton. Thank you for joining me.